The White House says negotiations with Russia will begin immediately to end the war in Ukraine. As we reported, President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke on the phone for about 90 minutes Tuesday. Putin agreed to pause strikes on Ukrainian energy and infrastructure, according to the White House. And they also discussed potential economic cooperation, as well as the potential role of the Middle East to prevent future conflicts. Now, the call comes at a critical moment in the war. Last week, Russia's military said it had reclaimed territory in the Kursk region, where Ukraine mounted a surprise counteroffensive last summer. Michael O'Hanlon joins us now. He's the director of research at the Brookings Institution's Foreign Policy Program. Michael, thank you for being here. You know, the White House says there's a big opportunity here for economic cooperation with Russia, and President Trump also says he believes Putin wants peace. We know this is vastly different from former President Biden's posture toward Putin. What are the pros and cons of this shift?
Greetings, Lindsay. Well, I think that President Trump is correct that we're going to have to offer Russia some positive incentives for a post-war vision in order to get Putin to stop fighting, because Putin doesn't really want peace. Putin wants another chunk of Ukraine. Specifically, he wants about 5% more of its original total territory. The 4 regions in the east, and your map showed them all very nicely in color, but he only dominates 2 of the 4 plus Crimea. He wants all 4 plus Crimea. And in fact, he's already had his parliament formally annex them into Russia. So if we don't change his calculus enough, he's going to keep fighting. And he's already demonstrated he's got a pretty high tolerance for other people's pain, not just Ukrainian soldiers and civilians, but his own soldiers. And I think he sees this in historic terms like, you know, Peter the Great, Catherine the Great, those 18th century Russian leaders. Now he wants to be Vladimir the Great and recreate part of the Russian Empire. So that's what we're contending with, and no one should have any other illusions. But I give Trump credit. This was a pretty good step forward today. I don't think it's anywhere near the finish line, though.
Well, and Ukraine wasn't part of this call. How do you see Ukraine's involvement moving forward?
Well, of course, Ukraine was part of the discussions the last couple of weeks, whether they wanted to be or not, and certainly not in a very enjoyable way, with the berating of President Zelensky in the White House, and then subsequently the negotiations with some of his team and some of the Trump team in Saudi Arabia. I think that Zelensky is practical and smart, and he may feel somewhat offended, but he recognizes that he has no choice but to keep his number one ally on his side. So he can't take a different position fundamentally than the United States, especially when I think Zelensky's smart enough to know that there really is no great prospect for winning back the 20% or so of his country that Russia has stolen, given battlefield trends. And so if Trump can work towards a peace that is not only stable, but, you know, permanent, and let Russia, excuse me, just one last point. If Ukraine can maintain the political claim to the territory, but not fight for it on the battlefield, I think Zelensky is going to be willing to accept that because he has no real choice.
Michael O'Hanlon, we'll have you back. Thank you so much.